their snow tires for just $1. Whee! So drive routes 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and save big during the fall foliage blowout sale happening now at Lamoille Valley Ford.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The energy. We walked around for 35 minutes just in the parking lot looking for this car.
The passion.
UVM schedules the way they do to get as high a seed as possible in the NCAA tournament and to get as much tournament prep as they can because they're not going to get it from their league.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
The organization should be taking care of Matt rather than Matt taking care of the organization.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show right here on a Friday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Shorter show today, just 1 hour, 5:30 until 6:30. At that point, we've got Norwich Hockey, Lee Cattell, George Como from Kreitzberg Arena, the home opener for the Cadets. They're taking on in-state rival Castleton, so our coverage officially begins at 6:35, and the puck drop is at 7. No Patriots game to get ready for this weekend, but we will still talk to Phil Perry, our NBC Sports Boston Pats insider. He'll be with us at 5:45 talking about the Pats at the bye week. 6-pack of NFL questions. We'll get you ready for the weekend. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line at 802-585-3026. That's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
And the opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Well, if you stayed up late last night and watched it, or you just woke up early today and looked at the box score, you were disappointed by UVM's performance last night on the road at St. Mary's. I told you that I thought UVM could play with St. Mary's. I still believe that they can when they're at their best. But last night, UVM was not at its best. Final score, 79-53, a 26-point loss for the Catamounts in their second game of the year. That's the worst loss for UVM on the men's side since 2018, right? Remember that year? UVM got beat at the buzzer in the America East title game by UMBC, and UMBC goes on to beat Virginia in the NCAA tournament, the first 16 to beat a 1. Well, UVM had to pick it up and go play an NIT game right after that, which, of course, they weren't mentally engaged in. They got throttled by Middle Tennessee State. Last night was the worst loss for the program since that night. Right? You can look at UVM's schedule for the last several years. I did. They have played all the big guys, and they have played all of them close. 4 against Arkansas, 6 against Kentucky, I think like 14 against Kansas, 10 against Providence. UVM does not get blown out, even when they were playing great programs. And last night, they got blown out. It was certainly a wake-up call, and head coach John Becker, after the game, he knew that what his team put on tape last night was not pretty.
Tough game tonight against a good St. Mary's team, and it was a struggle on both ends of the court for us tonight. And, it really came down to they were a much tougher team than us. And I think that's the worst loss we've had in a while, a few years. And, we're a work in progress like we knew. Knew this would be a hard game. But, we'll have to watch the tape and really, figure out where to go from here.
Before we get to the UVM side of things, just first off, if you watched it, what a dreadful broadcast. Like, just what a dreadful product. I mean, there were no announcers. Like, at one point, I was watching something else, so I had the game on my computer and I had it on mute. And then when I went to watch it with sound on, there was no sound. There were no broadcasters. The score bug and the time clock on the broadcast constantly got reset to 0. So there were times you were wondering what the score was and how much time was left. Just an awful, awful viewing experience. Anyways, UVM loses by 26. It's not rocket science why they lost, and it's not rocket science why they got blown out. basically, everything that we said needed to happen didn't, and everything we told you was a worry remained a worry. So at that point, checkmate, game over. It's that simple, really. I told you that if UVM wanted to win last night, their stars needed to play like stars. I said pulling an upset, a prerequisite is your stars playing like stars. And UVM got nothing close to a star effort from its stars. I told you Aaron Deloney, Dylan Penn, and Finn Sullivan all needed to be between 14 and 20 points for UVM to win. None of them were. That's the ball game. Like, that is the ball game. I told you that trio probably needed to score 50 points between them, and they got a combined 28. That is the ball game. We can talk about everything else, and we will, but when your best players, your three best players come out and average 9 a game or 9 in the game, you can't win a game like that. St. Mary's has been to the NCAA tournament 4 of the last 7 years. They play Gonzaga tight every year. They're in that conference with Gonzaga, and they're battling with them every year. This is not a pushover. This is not playing UMass Lowell on a Sunday afternoon at Patrick Gym. This is playing a real program with real players. And when your best players don't show up, I'm not saying they didn't try. Of course they put together the effort, but when they don't perform, you don't win. If a low major is going to beat a great mid-major program like St. Mary's is, your best players have to show up, and UVM's didn't last night. That's simple. All the other things matter, but that's where the game is lost. When your best players average 9 a game between the three of them, that's the game. St. Mary's knew who Aaron Deloney was. They weren't going to let him come in and have anything easy. He was never going to get what he got against Brown last night, and it showed. Aaron Deloney didn't score in the second half. He even missed 2 free throws. He was 2 of 7 from the floor. Now, I trust Deloney to be a consistently good player for this team, but you cannot afford, if you want to win games like last night, you can't afford to get games like that from Aaron Deloney. Right? Like, can they beat Albany with Aaron Deloney getting 7 points? Yeah, maybe they can if everybody else steps up. You can't beat St. Mary's with Deloney getting 7. They need Finn Sullivan to, in addition to being a ball handler and a defender and a rebounder, they need double-digit scoring from him. They didn't get it. He had 8 points. Right? Like, that's the game. We can go through all the stats and all the shot charts and all the percentages. That is the game. Your best players don't score in a game that you're not supposed to win. Like, if you're going to win a game you're not supposed to win, you need your stars to go above and beyond. And UVM didn't get that last night. Everything else contributed, but your stars didn't play like stars. That's it. I told you that. And in addition, I told you the stars had to do the heavy lifting last night, but in addition, UVM got nothing from anybody else. So that's a really deadly combo. When your stars aren't going to perform, and then your bench players and role players don't perform, you're completely sunk. And that's how you get blown out by 26. It'd be one thing if Deloney got 7, but somebody else stepped up and got 12. The game might be respectable. The UVM didn't get that. UVM had, checks my notes, 5 points from its bench. That's all. Freshman TJ Hurley, nothing. Freshman Perry Smith Jr., Bupkis. Matt Veretto got hurt, so obviously you give him, he'll play a couple of minutes, so you give him a break. But Cam Gibson, 5 points. That was the only bench scoring UVM got. Right? Like, 53 points is the lowest point total for a UVM team since 2019. It's not, like, they don't historically score that low, but they are going to have to figure some things out here as they continue through a very challenging non-conference schedule. I mean, you had the double whammy last night. Your stars weren't stars, and your role players did nothing. I mean, TJ Hurley got 0. He had 21 against Middlebury. He had double figures against Brown. Bupkis last night. Perry Smith Jr., Bupkis. You can't win that way. Sam Alamutu played 15 minutes, didn't even attempt a shot. Can't have it. Cannot have it. Games like last night, the stars are the ones that I'm looking at most, but to get nothing from them or your role players, I mean, that is the whammy. Like, that is how you get blown out. The worst loss since 2018. And finally, this team, as it stands right now, has zero inside presence. And that's going to be something to watch all season, both offensively and defensively. Right? And I don't want to be too alarmist. Last year at the beginning of the year, the first 10 games, UVM couldn't shoot at all. And then they rolled through the conference. So it can be done. Like, they can fix things. But right now, 2 games in and 2 exhibition games in, this team has zero inside presence. And it's going to hurt them on both sides of the ball. We knew that rebounding would be a problem, and it is. Last night, it was huge. St. Mary's out-rebounded UVM by 18 rebounds. That's like if your high school varsity team played your freshman team. That's the kind of thing that would happen. You got out-rebounded by 18, and as a result of that, St. Mary's had 12 offensive rebounds. They had 16 second-chance points. You only had 4. They got 40 points in the paint. You only had 26. This team can't have that happen. Like, they're a team that's not very big, and they don't have a post player, really. So I know there's going to be nights where they're going to have to scrap to get even, but you can't get out-rebounded by 18. Right? Within their own league, I think they'll probably be fine because the rest of the league is small. But if you want to win games like we want UVM to win, last night cannot happen. When you get out-rebounded by 18, guess what does that lead to? It leads to second-chance points, which leads to buckets, which also leads to fouls, you committing fouls because you're constantly on the defensive. And now they're getting the ball, they're getting 3-4 shots of possession, and you're just hacking at them. You're just flailing. Not good. And John Becker, after the game, knew that as well.
Right now, we're starting 4-guard lineup, but yeah, we've certainly got to be control the paint a lot better. I mean, really 2 of our last 3 games, including Middlebury, we've been kind of dominated in the paint. Tonight we had a double a lot, but Nick's playing a lot of minutes. It's a new role for him. So, these are good experiences for him. Perry, as a freshman, just his second game. These are good experiences for him. And
offensively, the lack of post presence is an issue also. I mean, UVM basically played 5 out, 5 on the perimeter the entire game. And look, I'm not a fan of trying to shoehorn a player into the paint and have him clog up everything. So I think there's benefits to this team having everybody kind of being interchangeable and everybody kind of moving in and out. So I'm okay with that. But here's what happened last night. Here was the UVM offense. If you didn't see the game, here's what happened. UVM had 5 players on the perimeter. Whoever had the ball at the point would dribble handoff. And then that person would have nowhere to go. And then they dribble handoff again. And UVM would end up just doing constant dribble handoffs on the perimeter. And eventually they'd need to fire a 3 or a tough 2. And because 5 players were on the outside, there's nobody there for the offensive rebound. And that contributes to you getting out-rebounded by 18 and not getting second-chance points. That's it. When you have 5 players on the perimeter and you're not shooting well and you can't get offensive rebounds, you are screwed, and UVM was screwed last night. Now, they play Fullerton on Sunday. That is the most winnable of the 3 games on this trip. They play USC on Tuesday. I do believe this team can correct things, but they're going to have to correct them fast. They're not going to get any taller as a team in the next few days. They're going to need to toughen up on the boards, and they're going to need to figure out how to get some kind of paint touch going on the offensive side of things, because just playing 5 out and dribble handoffing to death, not going to cut it. Not in the non-conference, not against this non-conference. And their stars are going to have to play like stars. We're going to have to see more from this Catamount team offensively when it comes. Again, I said Aaron Deloney can't be a guy who gets 32 one game and 7 the next. That's exactly what happened. I'm hoping that now we can start to get into a rhythm where he gets 15 a game like I asked for. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. All right, Phil Perry is getting ready to call in here. Let's get the Phil Perry music sounder, people.
It's another Football Friday and another look at your New England Patriots.
And I will put it at the feet of Mac Jones. I mean, you get the credit when everything's going well. First third down of the game, first drive of the game, you throw it right to the other team. 7 points going the other way.
With all the info from Patriots Place,
It's Pat's insider, Phil Perry. No, it's not that I think less of him. I think the fact that I am high on him leads to the honest criticism of him. I know he's better than the way he's played.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
All right, Phil Perry, our NBC Sports Boston insider, with us here on the Brady Farkas Show. Pats are off this week, bye week coming. They are 5-4 though, and we still want to talk about them as they hit the bye. Phil, how are you?
Doing good, Brady. I'm going to be honest. I'm looking forward to a week off, kind of recharge a little bit and hit the second half hard.
You know, I got to say, I was at that game on Sunday, Patriots and Colts, and while I'm glad the Patriots won, has there been a more dreadful game for you to cover in a while? I mean, my God, like I would have, if you told me the Pats were going to win 27-24, like as long as they win, I would have preferred that to what we saw on Sunday.
They are pretty uninteresting to watch right now, at least on the offensive side of the ball. I give their defense a lot of credit, what they've done to teams, and granted, the competition is what it is. When you're talking about Zach Wilson giving the ball away at every opportunity, and or 2 weeks ago, I should say, and last week seeing probably the most dysfunctional offense in all of football in Indianapolis. The defense is good. I'm surprised. They've exceeded my expectations and then some this year, Brady, but offensively, it's ugly for a variety of different reasons. And again, it doesn't even really seem as though they're building towards much right now. They're not doing all that much that is interesting, even in a vacuum, in terms of the play calling or the design. And so you put it all together, and it's just not all that exciting to watch on that side of the ball.
You know, let's get back to the Pats in a second, but I want to get to this Colts thing, the team that the Patriots just shredded last week and hiring Jeff Saturday. And look, what I'm more miffed about is the people like Kyle Brandt on the NFL Network and Joe Thomas today on NFL Network saying that Jeff Saturday getting hired is an affront to all coaches everywhere. If I were a current Colts coach that wanted that job, I'd be ticked. But I got to tell you, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for coaches everywhere because, Phil, I've been doing radio for 8.5 years, and I've been grinding at it. And the minute I go up against a former athlete with no experience for a job, that athlete's going to get the job. Or the minute that somebody's famous kid wants the job, that guy's going to get the job. This happens everywhere, Phil.
It does. It happens everywhere all the time. It doesn't make it right, but it sort of is what it is. It's the harsh reality of their business. It's the harsh reality of our business. It's the nature of the gig. Now, I think what Jeff Saturday has to overcome now, even just in these 8 games to make it a passable situation, is he does have to win over these people that he has just superseded on the coaching depth chart, if you will. And so that's going to be really difficult. It's going to make his job difficult. But in all walks of life, people get hired for jobs that they shouldn't be hired for. And maybe in football they're less used to it, Brady, because it is, I don't know, maybe it's more unusual there than other places. But you just laid out a few examples. I'm not sure it's all that unusual. It's just the nature of this one. This is particularly egregious. This is picking out somebody who, maybe like listened to radio for a few years, Brady, and then they hired him to host a radio show full-time, one of the biggest stations in the country. That's what this feels like right now.
Well, the Colts certainly are a laughing stock around the league. And let me ask you this, and I'm not even being facetious on this. If Josh McDaniels and the Raiders lose to this Colts team under these circumstances, does McDaniels make it through the weekend?
Boy, I think if he coached another team, I think that might be in play. And the reason I say that is I just am not sure Mark Davis is going to be willing to eat all of the money that he's guaranteed Josh McDaniels, and I would assume Dave Ziegler as well. I mean, they're basically a package deal to then go out this coming offseason 1 year later and rehire an entire new staff and guarantee them a boatload of money. Listen, all these NFL owners are doing well for themselves, Brady. We know that. Just by dint of owning an NFL franchise, you're doing well for yourself. You're making money hand over fist. But I don't know if anybody is making that much money. Certainly Mark Davis, where he's just willing to light it on fire that way. I think he's probably committed to more of a long-term plan with McDaniels and Ziegler, and I think the fact that the finances involved would be really painful for a guy that isn't outside of his football team all that wealthy, seemingly, it makes it hard for me to believe that he would part with him this season, mid-season.
Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston Patriots insider with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Phil, this show started in 2020, and that first season we had Eric Eager, now formerly of Pro Football Focus, on. And what Eric taught me that's always going to stick with me is when you have a young quarterback on a rookie deal, you need to make it as advantageous for him as possible, and you need to give him every advantage, and you need to remove all the other variables so you can just evaluate the quarterback. Either the Patriots are not doing that, or they think they did that last year in their spending spree and whiffed on a bunch of guys. Which one is it? Because the fact that we're having a debate, is it Mac or everything else, that's part of the problem, that we still don't have an answer on Mac.
Yeah, it's the fact that they're not doing enough to support this guy. And I think they tried personnel-wise, both last year and this year. They go out and they trade for Devontae Parker. Now, it's not like they had to fork over a ton of money to sign him in free agency, but I think that was a pretty shrewd signing given what they're paying for him, what they had to give up via trade, because the guy can still play. He's limited in terms of the number of things he can do, but he can still provide a role for your offense. They draft a fast wide receiver in the second round that they think could be a difference-making playmaker. They go out and, it's a guard in the first round, and I would argue against doing that all day long. But if the argument is, well, we got to make sure Mac's protected, then that's trying to help out the situation. So personnel-wise, they've tried it. Coaching staff-wise, they've done the opposite. And to me, I think the ultimate example of just how difficult the situation is and how difficult they've made the situation on Mac Jones is just turn south to what's going on in Miami right now. It's almost what's happened in New England in reverse, right? Last year, Tua Tagovailoa is in a brutal situation with no offensive line, very few playmakers to speak of, but a coaching staff that includes, get this, Brady, 2 offensive coordinators and 2 play callers and some difference in opinion in terms of who should be the guy and who is the guy and who's in charge and who's in control. I think there's actually a little bit less of that here in New England. Everybody understands it's basically Matt Patricia's show, but the uncertainty on that side of the ball and the coaching staff is obvious. And now what they've done with Tua is given him a real playmaker in Tyreek Hill. They've given him a real offensive mind in Mike McDaniel, and the thing has blossomed. So it just shows, it's a great example. Both of these on opposite ends of the spectrum are great examples of why situation matters for these quarterbacks. One team's doing a lot, the other team not so much, and look at the results.
My gut tells me, I watch the Patriots and they're so inept offensively. My gut tells me when they play somebody good, they're going to get rolled. However, I don't know how many really good teams there are in the NFL. Tom Brady was right a couple weeks ago. There is a lot of bad football being played. Maybe the Patriots can win a bunch of games despite how they look.
Well, that's where they luck out, because even the Buffalo Bills, which would be easy to point to and say they've got 2 games left against that team is the team that you need to be in the playoff hunt, to be sniffing your division title, which is what they aim to do every single year. Even the Bills, and it's not just because Josh Allen's hurt. Josh Allen is a stud, and I would argue he's one of the 2 best quarterbacks in football. But Brady, especially these last few weeks before he was hurt even, he's making some baffling decisions where the turnover-worthy play rate is up. And you're wondering why he's forcing the issue sometimes when he really doesn't have to, because their margin for error is so significant on that side of the ball. So is it a down year for him? Is he hurt now? Is he hurt significantly enough that it may impact him down the road? Even a super team, quote-unquote, like what Buffalo appeared to be coming into the year, isn't quite as strong as we thought they might be. Now, Miami's better than I anticipated, than I think a lot of people anticipated. But are the Raiders where we thought they would be preseason? Are the Cardinals even where we thought they would be preseason? At the end of their schedule for the Patriots, while I still think it's difficult and it's more difficult than what they've seen lately, I think in some areas, some pockets, it's a little easier than we thought it would be, which is fortunate for them.
Is Josh Uche growing into becoming an impact player, or is last week an aberration given who the Pats were playing against?
Yeah, I think we have to temper expectations here. I like Josh Uche. I liked him coming out of the draft. I was told he was talented enough to be a first-round pick, and had he tested at the combine, he very likely would have been a first-round pick in 2020. He was that athletic. He was that set up to blow up in Indianapolis before that year's draft. But he's been so up and down because of the injuries, Brady. I don't know how you could bank on anything with him. It's been nice to see him produce, over the course of the last 2 weeks, really. I think both of these have been good games for him. But I think if they're leaning on him for anything more than a situational pass rusher who will occasionally flash, that to me is a hard ask. What I think he could provide that would be of real value to them is in certain passing situations. If you would like to get Matthew Judon a blow, he can be effective enough, if he's healthy enough, to be able to do that. That obviously is where Judon tailed off last year. He's acknowledged it. He thinks he's in better shape now than he was last year, but last year it wasn't good enough at the end of the year. He completely disappeared. If you can give him a little bit of a break and cap him at essentially 50 snaps, which they've really tried to do this year, if you look at his snap totals week to week, you might get a better player down the stretch run here, and so maybe Judon helps in that regard. You may not get a ton from him as an individual, but you might get more from Judon because Uche is passable now at this point in his career.
Phil, final question. I need a little life advice from you. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, I love it. I'm always ready to provide life advice. If there's anybody who should be giving out life advice, it's me, Brady.
So I'm excluding tailgating opportunities from this question, but outside of that, I have never been a beer before noon guy. There's something about drinking before noon that's not a road I really want to go down. But with the Patriots off, and I got a football weekend where I can enjoy it as a fan, and I'm going to my Seahawks roots again here. I grew up a Seahawks fan. 9:30 a.m. Sunday game in Germany. When is too early to crack the beer? I don't want to do it before noon, but noon's like, almost the end of the game. Do I do it at 9:30? Do I got to wait till halftime? What's the rule?
Well, I think it depends on the setting, Brady, in all honesty. Where are you watching the game? If you're just at home in your living room and you're by yourself, I would say maybe hold off. Maybe hold off and wait till noon.
Okay.
If that's where you're most comfortable, if that's your wheelhouse, I think you have to understand yourself as a player. You have to do a little self-scouting before you go into the weekend and understand what works best for you. Maximize your own personal skill set. Now, I wouldn't have a hard and fast rule that says no beer before noon, because I think you can miss out on some outstanding early morning football viewing as a group. Maybe you get just a whole bunch of bagels, a bunch of bagel sandwiches, maybe potentially, depending on your situation and where you're at. If there's a good spot near your house, you get some buddies together. Now you're drinking beers, you're having a little breakfast, you're having a little brunch, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you buy a little champs. If you're that kind of guy, Brady, you start breaking out the mimosas at kickoff for the Seahawks game in Germany. I think there's a lot of opportunities there that you don't want to miss out on, but you don't force it, right? You don't crack the champagne and start drinking 11 mimosas by noon if you're by yourself in your living room. Now, I want to say, I'm not judging you if you do that, but it sounds like that's probably not your style. So to me, it depends on situation.
I mean, I got to be honest, the amount of buddies just knocking down the door to watch Seahawks football with me in Burlington, Vermont is not particularly high. So it's going to be me, my fiance, and our dog. So, maybe 11.
Hey, then maybe mimosas might be the play then. I don't know how she, stands on the topic, but that could be a nice little way to spice up your Sunday morning. And then, you know what, Brady? There's nobody that's saying to you that you have to watch every single game on the Sunday slate. Maybe by 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon, if you're not thrilled with the games going on, you sneak an hour nap. You wake up and you're ready to go for the second half of your day. Think you're right into Sunday Night Football. I love it.
Well, we're going to be battling this internal battle now for the next couple of days as I try to figure it out. Seahawks football in Germany. Patriots football back at it next week against the Jets. Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston, our Pats insider. Phil, thank you for Pats coverage and life advice.
Oh, anytime, Brady. You know I'm your guy on both fronts. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
We'll talk to you as well. Seriously, it's a bit of a conundrum. I want to open it up to the text line. What should I do on Sunday morning / early afternoon during the Seahawks game? We'll find out what you all think next on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV. High-rise hotels and condo buildings could be uninhabitable.
Volusia emergency officials say with damage from Hurricane Ian, the surf from Hurricane Nicole has caused extreme erosion along more than 20 buildings, many at risk of collapsing into the ocean.
Nicole's been pummeling the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. WCBS TV weathercaster Lonnie Quinn.
The type of winds that we're talking about are 50-mile-per-hour winds. Now, normally, that wouldn't really be all that big of a deal for us. We've had bigger winds than that. However, you've got rain coming down.
Freeze up! Freeze up! Oh!
Vice President Kamala Harris today at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery.
From Baghdad to Fallujah to Kandahar, you stood as one to protect our democracy and our freedom.
I'm Vicky Barker in London. As Big Ben struck 11, in stores and offices and schools across Britain, people stopped to observe 2-minute silence for the dead of World War I and wars since. This Sunday, Remembrance Sunday, Charles III will lay a wreath at the National War Memorial for the first time as king. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
Calling this whole thing a mess would be the understatement of the year.
That's CNET's Ian Shore on the news that Twitter has halted its blue verification label because so many fake accounts have been created.
Many people have taken to Twitter creating fake accounts for pharmaceutical companies, for government agencies, and even for Twitter owner Elon Musk himself, pretending to be them, saying things that cause all sorts of havoc.
After Russia's humiliating retreat from the Kherson region, Ukrainian officials are thinking this could be the start of something big, says CBS's Chris Livesey.
Now that Ukraine feels like it has the upper hand, they don't feel like they want to negotiate for anything, because not only are they getting back the territory that they had taken away from them when this war began on February 24th, they feel like they might have enough momentum to get back the other territory that was taken away from them all the way back in 2014.
At the University of Chicago today, Congresswoman and January 6th investigating committee vice chair Liz Cheney said the committee is considering making criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. On Wall Street, the Dow closed up a fraction, but the S&P 500 ended the day up almost 1%. NASDAQ closed up almost 2%. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies Early Black Friday starts now with 48% off business PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Whatever your preferred way to recreate is, Waterbury's got it. The award-winning bike trail networks have routes for everyone from beginners to experts, plus a pump track at Perry Hill to let you hone your skills. For hikers, Waterbury has easy access to some of Vermont's tallest peaks for panoramic views, or take a mellow meander along rivers and through forests to enjoy nature at a quieter pace. Plus, you can explore the waters of Waterbury with some paddling or fishing, or try your hand at a round of disc golf. Waterbury is a giant outdoor playground, and the ways to play are limitless. Learn more at discoverwaterbury.com/recreation.
Hello, my name is Craig Cameron. I am the founder of All Points Wellness Acupuncture and Massage Therapy. I'm excited to welcome you to my practice here in Waterbury. Take a look at the services we offer and then book an appointment online at www.allpointswellness.com.
Paprika Catering Company is proud to announce our 1-year anniversary. We want to thank you for your amazing support. You can find us at Stowe Street Cafe on Wednesdays from 5 to 8 with the most delicious empanadas. For catering, contact us at paprikacatoringcompany@gmail.com. marvinwindows@gmail.com.
Marvin windows are designed for unprecedented performance and exceptional aesthetics. Marvin's expansive window portfolio has every style you can imagine, all of them crafted with the highest quality material and the ability to mix and match across product lines that allows you to achieve the right form and function for your residential, commercial, and replacement needs. See our Marvin specialist at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, and Derby, or online at sticksandstuff.com.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. We've got Norwich hockey coming up a half hour from now, 6:35, with the pregame show. Lee Cattell and George Como live at Kreisberg Arena. Cadets taking on Castleton in the home opener for the Cadets, who are 3-0. We got a lot to get to in the next 30 minutes, though. We're going to do our six-pack of NFL questions. I want to get to one thing on the Patriots, but I do want to flesh out this Sunday morning predicament that I'm in. So let me set the stage before I take input, right? I got a couple people giving me ideas here on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, and I welcome those, 802-585-3026. So, look, I'm looking to have a couple of beers on Sunday, right? Like football Sunday, I'm looking to have a couple of beers. But let me set the stage fully. The Seahawks are my team, right? I love the Patriots. I cover the Patriots. We talk about the Patriots. The Seahawks are my team. I will root for the Patriots against everybody in the league except for the Seahawks. I grew up in Seattle. I love the Seahawks. They've always been my team. Anyways, so this is a game they're playing in Germany, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. This is a game that I care about. This is a game that I'm invested in. I watch every Seahawks game. Coming back from the Patriots game last Sunday, we listened to the Seahawks game. So I'm knee-deep into the Seahawks. I will be watching this game at home. This isn't me going to the bar, so that's not like that's an option. So here we go. I just want to know, at what point is too early, or at what point is okay to have a couple of drinks during the Seahawks game? I don't like to drink before noon. Okay, drinking before noon is generally something that, that's a road that I don't like to walk down. All right, I don't have a hard and fast rule against it, but it's like I don't really love the idea of it. Okay, especially it'd be one thing if I was tailgating, it'd be one thing if I was at a bar. I'm just gonna be at home. So drinking before noon is a little bit do I want to do it? It's a little squeamish, especially I'm just with Jess and me, and that's it. So here's the thought. I can just say screw it and have a drink at 9:30 in the morning, because most Sundays the Patriots are playing, so I got to be locked into that. So I don't have time to be getting after it on Sundays when I got to watch the Patriots and do a show on Monday about them. So I can just say screw it. Patriots are off. I don't get this very often. Let's start drinking at 9:30. I can say let's start drinking at noon, which is usually my rule, and it's midway through the fourth quarter at that point. Or is there some kind of compromise in there? Because right now I think the leader in the clubhouse is crack a drink at halftime or start of the third quarter, and it'll be about 11:15. It's close to noon. I watched the game. I'm going to end up being sober the entire game, which is good. Nobody needs to be hammered at 10:30 in the morning. So first half, totally sober. Second half, nothing will have hit me yet until the game's over. The leader in the clubhouse now is waiting until noon, or waiting until the third quarter starts about 11:15. That's the leader in the clubhouse. Maybe like Phil said, maybe get a couple of bagel sandwiches in there, maybe make some pancakes or something to have before I drink, lather up the stomach. I don't know. But here's the other thing, too. If I was really getting after it, if you told me, Brady, we're going to have an all-day, drinking fest, I would have 2 rum and cokes. That's always my go. I don't really drink liquor. 2 rum and cokes, though, would be my move. I'd set the stage, couple drinks of rum and coke, and then I'd move to beer. I feel weird having rum and coke at 11:15. So now I'm thinking I'm going to have to just have beer all day if I want to, or for as long as I want to drink, right? Maybe I want to be done drinking at 1. Maybe I want to be done drinking at 5. I don't know. But once I crack the beer first, I feel like that's what I got to stay with. Because if I go to liquor after beer, I'm going to end up puking, and nobody needs that, right? You know, liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer after liquor, never been sicker, or beer before liquor, never been sicker. I follow that rule. So this is a tough situation for me to navigate here. Text says, all right, Scott in Heinsberg. I'd have to say Bloody Marys with a good breakfast around halftime. That's a good idea. I don't drink Bloody Marys. I don't like tomato juice, so I don't do Bloody Marys. Ray also says have a Bloody Mary and relax and enjoy and have a chaser at halftime. Again, I don't do tomato juice. So like this is really coming down to whether I want to just start having beer early in the morning or if I want to have a rum and coke at some point. I don't know. Ross says if your day is not busy, if your day is not busy, have some drinks. The Seahawks are 6-3. If they were 3-6, I'd say drink pregame. If they were 3-6, I don't even know if I need to be watching. But my day is not busy on Sunday. Like I don't have anywhere to go. I can do things, but they're around the apartment, right? Like I live in an apartment. I don't have to mow the lawn. I don't have to do any of that. So take the dog out, clean up around the house, do laundry, all things I can do while a little bit tipsy if I want to be. So I can drink as much as I want on Sunday. The question is, what time do I want to start? Again, I'm feeling halftime or right when the kickoff for the third quarter is about to start. That's what I'm feeling. It'll be about 11:15. Again, maybe some pancakes beforehand. Maybe I get a nice German beer. A nice Hefeweizen, perhaps, like a Queen City Brewery Hefeweizen. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe 11:15, third quarter, get a German beer. I'm in the mood. Maybe a bratwurst. Maybe it's not even pancakes. Maybe it's an early lunch, like really early lunch, like 11:30 lunch. I got bratwurst. Maybe that's the plan. That is now the leader in the clubhouse. 11:15, we crack the German beer. That way it doesn't feel skeezy to drink before noon. I'm in the spirit of the moment. I'm in the spirit of the special game, and maybe I got a bratwurst or something. That now we're starting to cook here. Now we're starting to cook. So the text can keep coming in, 802-585-3026. But German beer just after halftime, that is where I'm starting to go with this. So, all right, I want to get to the Patriots because we just talked to Phil Perry. And we're going to probably talk more about what Phil said on Monday. But Albert Breer is making a point now that I made months ago. And I just want to bring it back because it goes along with what Phil was saying. So Phil said he believes the Patriots have tried to help Mac Jones personnel-wise, but says they're not helping Mac Jones when it comes to coaching-wise. And this is what Albert Breer said yesterday, which mimics what I've said for months.
You know, I think that there's a certain value that you can put on having institutional knowledge of the program. And I think Bill's always absolutely valued that. And if you look, he's very rarely gone outside the organization to add any sort of outside voice. He's rarely gone outside the organization to add somebody at a higher level. He'll go outside the organization to bring in a quality control coach and let that guy work his way up. But it's almost never at like the coordinator level. And so I wonder if the lesson here for him is valuing the institutional knowledge over practical.
This is what I have said for months. One of the problems with what Bill Belichick did this offseason, like it's not just that he hired Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to run the offense. That's egregious enough. But it goes beyond that. The problem right now is that as he gets older, Bill Belichick only trusts people who work for him or people who played for him. And that to me is something I said months ago I thought was going to be an issue. Again, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, it is one thing to hire them. But to not trust anybody from outside the organization, that is a problem. I want the New England Patriots to have a degree of newness, a degree of freshness, to welcome in diversity of thought. And when you hire a bunch of yes men who have been trained by you, you don't get that. You lose that ability. And I always thought that was going to be a problem. Right? I always thought that was going to be an issue. Okay? Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, I don't believe they have the freedom to stand up to Bill Belichick. I think it's just Bill telling them, hey, we're going to do this, and you're going to have to, and that's that. Like, they're indebted to Bill Belichick for giving them second chances. So I don't think they're rocking the boat. So they're doing what Bill wants. Bill's got his system. He's got guys who will implement his system, guys that won't push back on his system, and he's got a bunch of yes men. And when we were talking about the Patriots bringing in offensive coordinators, I wanted somebody from the outside. I wanted the Kyle Shanahan type, the Sean McVay type, the Zach Taylor type, the young, up-and-coming coordinator who was going to bring a degree of freshness and a degree of newness. And, of course, the Patriots didn't do that. And I got to say, I got to give Pete Carroll, talking about the Seahawks, I got to give Pete Carroll a lot of credit because Pete Carroll is old. Pete Carroll is stubborn, and Pete Carroll is as grounded into his philosophy as any coach I've ever seen, right? Pete Carroll believes in take care of the football, run the football, and play good defense. And that is what he wants to do. And the whole idea of letting Russ cook when he was there, that Pete Carroll hated that. Last year, though, Pete Carroll hired an offensive coordinator from somebody outside the organization. He hired Shane Waldron from the Rams, who I think was their quarterback's coach. He went outside the organization and brought in a fresh set of ideas. And it wasn't great last year, probably in part because Russ was hurt and Russ wasn't great last year. But this year, the Seahawks have one of the top offenses in the league because Pete Carroll hired somebody from outside, entrusted them, and now the offense is thriving. Look, the Seahawks still run the football. Pete Carroll still has his imprints on it. But he's let up on the controls to say, you know what? This is where I want to get to. This is what I want us to be, but get us there creatively. And as a result, the Seahawks are using motion. The Seahawks are using jet sweeps and misdirections. The Seahawks are doing all kinds of things. They still run the football, and they still run it a lot. But they get there in a different way. The Patriots are like, hey, let's just line up, and let's just have a single tailback, and let's just run it right into the line. And there's no imagination, and there's no ingenuity. And how could you have that when everybody on staff is just a clone of what you believe or is willing to just accept what you tell them? That, to me, is a problem, right? The Seahawks, they have a philosophy, but Shane Waldron has been allowed to say, you know what? We will run the ball, and that will be our thing, but we're going to do it in a lot of different ways. We're going to have all kinds of bells and whistles that get us to the end product that you desire. Again, Pete Carroll doesn't give total autonomy to Shane Waldron, but he says, look, we want to be a run-based team. Get us there in your own way. The Patriots don't even have that. When you only hire from within, or when you only promote from within, or when you won't go outside, you're losing diversity of thought. And that is what the Patriots have right now, I think, is a bit of staleness to their offense. No, I say that they definitely have staleness in their offense. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Texter says, my college had a ritual called Paul Newman Day, a case of beer, 24 beers in 24 hours. I would not be able to do that. I get very, very full. I mean, it depends on what I'm eating and all that, but like at this point in my life, at 33 years old, if I drank all day, we're talking about all day, I could probably get about 10. Like the idea of me having 24 in 24 hours, not happening. But my college had what was called the Bridge Street Run. This was a good one. So I went to Oswego State in central New York, and the college was on Bridge Street. And Bridge Street was very long, right? There were like 10 blocks or 8 blocks of Bridge Street on the west side, then there was the bridge, and then there were 8 blocks, 10 blocks of Bridge Street on the east side. So we're talking about a lot of real estate leading up to the college. So Bridge Street Run was you had to go to the opposite end of campus, all the way down to the east side, and start at the first bar there. And your goal was to have a drink at as many bars as you could making your way back towards campus. And I believe there were 34 bars. Like, Bridge Street in Oswego is the most bars per square mile or per square capita or whatever it is in the entire country. So it's 34 bars in total. And you were supposed to have a drink at as many as you could. And I only ever did it one time, right? I was underage for the first 2 years. The third year, I had baseball. And the fourth year, I was a senior, and baseball season ended up ending like the day before or something. So I ended up doing Bridge Street Run senior year. I think I made it to like 18. Like, it was insane. Like, the 18 was insane, or 14 or something like that. 34, I mean, I don't know who's doing that, but I did it like 14. That's a good enough college ritual for me. All right, we are about 15 minutes away from Norwich Cadets hockey here on DEB, and I still have so much that I want to get to. We got to get to our six-pack of NFL questions here, taking us through the weekend. So, all right, go ahead. Give us the music. All right, big voice guy, question number one.
The best game of the NFL weekend is?
Best game NFL weekend, Chargers at 49ers. This is an interesting matchup. It's an important matchup, and then you have two playoff hopefuls here, right? It's Sunday Night Football, so it's inherently a bigger game. It's a game between the Chargers team that is coming off a nice win on the road, although it was clunky at times in their own Chargers way. A nice win on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. You have a Niners team coming off of a bye. So it's interesting there. This just feels like a game between two teams with a lot to prove. The Chargers need to prove that they cannot Charger their way out of the playoff mix. They're in second place right now in the AFC West. They have a very good quarterback in Justin Herbert, but they are battling a ton of injuries, right? Mike Williams isn't going to play. Keenan Allen's not going to play. They still lost Bosa. They lost J.C. Jackson for the year. They lost a great interior lineman for the year. So, like, Justin Herbert has a lot of pressure on his plate. Austin Eckler has a lot of pressure on his plate. I want to see the Chargers see if they can handle that pressure, and they're on the road. This is a game that it's not a must-win, but if they want to maintain shouting distance to the Chiefs, and if they want to maintain hold on second place, it's a game you want to have. The Chargers, on the other hand, or the Niners, on the other hand, I mean, they're coming off a bye. They're 500. They're trying to keep pace with the Seahawks, and the Seahawks may have won already by the time the Niners take the field. Like, they got to win to keep pace with this team. They get Christian McCaffrey in here. The Chargers are, among the worst in the NFL against the run. Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey should have a frenzy. Kyle Shanahan should have a field day here. Chargers 49ers feels like the best game of the NFL weekend. It may not be pretty. They're going to get one team that's injured and one team that bungles its way through and one team that goes for it on fourth down too much against another team that's just going to run and try to avoid Jimmy G. This game might be 20-13. It might be 17-14, but I think it's going to be interesting, and I think that it's going to come down to the wire. Game number two.
The game that intrigues us most is...
I never thought I'd say this, but Colts at Raiders. The Colts team that I saw last week might have been the worst team in NFL history. They were 0-14 on third down. The Colts are horrific right now. And they're playing with Sam Ehlinger, a guy who appears to be horrific behind that offensive line. But this game has all kinds of intrigue, right? We got Jeff Saturday, who's never coached a down in the NFL, who's been on TV for the last few years. We got him making his coaching debut. So that's intriguing. We got Josh McDaniels, who I wonder if he's going to get fired at the end of the game if they lose. That's intriguing. You got McDaniels, who took the Colts job and then turned it down at the last second a couple of years ago, which kind of started this spiral for the Colts. There's saucy storylines all throughout here. Parks Frazier, who's never called plays in the NFL, is going to call plays for the Colts here. This is two bad teams. What are we, like 3-5-1 against 2-6 here? Is this what the records are? Like, these are two of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah, the Colts right now are 3-5-1. The Raiders are 2-6. Like, these are not teams that I want to watch. But this matchup is so intriguing, I have to want to watch it. Jeff Saturday against Josh McDaniels against the team that he turned down. Sign me up for that.
The Bar Rescue Game of the Week is...
Bar Rescue Game of the Week, a.k.a. the worst game of the week. That's Saints at Steelers. Blah. I have zero interest in this game. It's a cross-conference matchup. It doesn't even have any divisional ties to it, or even conference ties to it. You got the Steelers, who are 2-6. They stink. We got the Saints, who are 3-6. They have talent, but they kind of stink. So I have no interest in this game. The Steelers are 1-3 in Kenny Pickett's 4 starts. They're averaging 11.5 points per game, so they can't score with the kid. It's nice that TJ Watt's going to be back. That's something mildly interesting in this game. The Saints have the worst turnover differential in the NFL. Andy Dalton, they're coming off a 243-yard performance on Monday night against Baltimore, so they're on a short week. It's just not a good game. Right? Not a good game. That's really all I can say about it.
The player we want to watch most this week is...
Player I want to watch most this week is Case Keenum. Now, we don't know officially that Keenum is going to be the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's been listed as questionable. Is that true, or is that gamesmanship? We're not sure. We all thought Allen was going to miss the game this week. I want to watch Case Keenum. The Buffalo Bills have a lot to play for. They're 6-2. They're trying to hold on to the top spot right now in the AFC so they can get the number 1 seed in the playoffs. They want to get Patrick Mahomes in the AFC title game on their turf in Buffalo, not in Kansas City. So they can't afford to be losing a bunch of games with backup quarterbacks. Case Keenum has a lot riding on this game. Case Keenum started a lot of games for a lot of teams, right? He started for Minnesota and took him to the NFC title game. So there's a revenge game there. Stephon Diggs has a revenge game opportunity against his old team. And the guy in Justin Jefferson, who kind of took his spot as the top receiver on that roster. So there's storylines in this game, and Case Keenum is at the forefront of them. He started for Houston, he started for Denver, and he started for Cleveland, and he started for Minnesota, and he might start for Buffalo. And if he does, there's some pressure that comes with that.
The player with the most pressure this week is...
It's not Case Keenum, it's Derek Carr. Case Keenum has pressure, but Derek Carr has the most pressure. You cannot lose to the Colts. The Colts, who went 0-14 on third down, who lost 26-3 to the Patriots, who fired their coach, who have a coach with no experience, you can't lose to that team. The Raiders have to win this game. Derek Carr is not... If this was a 6th-round rookie starting for the Raiders, there'd be no pressure. This is Derek effing Carr, who's been in the playoffs, who's been in the Pro Bowl, who's got a big contract. He cannot... The Colts right now are viewed as an embarrassment and a laughing stock. They cannot lose this game. And Derek Carr's got some trouble brewing here. Hunter Renfro's out. Darren Waller's out. So he's lost a lot of his help. He's going to have to do some of this on his own. Derek Carr got a lot of pressure.
The most amazing NFL stat of the weekend is...
Most amazing stat of the NFL weekend is that the Tennessee Titans have scored touchdowns on 79% of their red zone trips this year. I don't have the number in front of me for the Patriots, but going into last week, the Patriots were at 46%, which is one of the worst in the league. The Tennessee Titans are scoring touchdowns on nearly 80% of their red zone trips. I don't think the Titans are all that great. They don't have anybody at receiver. They don't have a particularly good passing game, but when you're converting touchdowns on 80% of your red zone trips, then that's why they are 5-3. That's why they're 5-3. Derrick Henry's great, and they're punching tickets when they get near the red zone, when they get into the red zone, when they get near the end zone. And they're taking on the Denver Broncos this week, and the key for Denver is to stop Derrick Henry. If you can stop Henry and hold him to field goals, then that's great. If you can keep him out of the red zone entirely, that's great. If you can keep him in 3rd and 8, that's great, because they can't pass. Now, they're going to get Burks, their young receiver, back this week, it looks like, so maybe that helps, but Titans are not particularly adept through the air. You got to be able to stop them on the ground. But, man, they 80% nearly in touchdowns in red zone trips. That is amazing. John in Moncton says, for Bill Belichick, thinking outside the box requires flexibility and willingness to try new ideas. Bringing in new people will bring in new ideas. It's hard to earn Bill's trust. Yeah, well, I agree. But, look, if Pete Carroll can do it, then I think Bill Belichick can do it. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. The show is brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at ProDriverCDL.com. It's online at ProDriverCDL.com. And go download the podcast as well, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Our interview with Phil Perry, I'm told, is already up there. Finally, I want to thank everybody out there who has served. Everybody who has served this great nation, thank you for your sacrifices, men and women, both home and abroad, current or not current. Thank you for what you have done on this Veterans Day. We celebrate you on this day. We should celebrate you every day, and that's something that we as a country need to do a better job of. So I've had the pleasure of working with some veteran groups like the Josh Pilata Fund in Colchester. It's always an uplifting experience for me when I get to do that. I have friends who have served the country either in law enforcement or in the military, so I thank them for their service. I worked for a year at Norwich University and got to see it all firsthand and see the sacrifices that Corps of Cadets made, and I think it's appropriate that here we have Norwich hockey coming up, and it is the Cadets home opener, and it is on Veterans Day. So thank you to everybody who has protected our freedoms home and abroad, and I hope you all have a great Veterans Day. Thank you for all you do. Again, we're back at it on Monday with the Brady Farkas Show, a full 90 minutes, and hopefully my ankle is good enough to play in our Men's League Championship game, because we did win yesterday despite me not playing. Norwich hockey is next. Lee Cattell is standing by ringside. We'll get there in 5 minutes on DEV.
Mammograms do not prevent breast cancer, but they save lives by finding it early. Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Waterman Manning, a general surgeon at Copley Hospital. In addition to offering general surgery care, I have a special interest in women's breast health. Mammograms are an important screening. They can save lives by finding breast cancer in its earliest stages, often when most treatable. Stage 1 breast cancer has a 99.1% survival rate. Guidelines now suggest women get their first mammogram at age 40. However, if you have a family history of breast cancer or other certain cancers, your practitioner will recommend screening at an earlier age. Thanks to you, we will soon be able to perform stereotactic biopsies and breast MRI right here at Copley, in addition to our current mammography and breast ultrasound programs. To learn more about mammograms and women's health at Copley, check out my blog at copleyvt.org. To schedule your mammogram, call Copley's Radiology Department at 802-888-8358.
The fall foliage blowout sale is on at Lamoille Valley Chevy. Our goal here at Lamoille Valley Chevy is to finish off this incredible year strong by making deals. Right, Pat? You got that right, bro. Folks, right now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, our 7-acre lot is loaded with new Chevy Bolts, Blazers, Equinox, and several hard-to